You face risks every day and in every stage of life. Today, Mark and I are going to talk about 4 risks that are unique to retirees, what they could mean to you, and what you can do about them.
It's easy to get lost on the way to retirement. Things like taxes, improper planning, and excessive market risk can all lead you astray from your goal of a successful and happy retirement. That's where Liz Whittaberry comes in. She's a holistic financial advisor and the founder of Best Path Advisors, and she can help guide you to a better financial path. This is Retire on Your Best Path with Liz Whittaberry.
Welcome into Retire on Your Best Path, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the podcast with Liz and myself as we talk investing, finance, and retirement. And as Liz teed up, we're going to talk about 4 things to consider this week here, unique risks, and what Liz thinks about this, and maybe how to deal with some of this stuff. And of course, if you got questions, you need help, you should be reaching out to a qualified professional like Liz anyway. She is the founder and financial advisor at Best Path Advisors, and you can find her online at bestpathadvisors.com. That is bestpathadvisors.com. Liz, how are you doing this week? You and I are taping this on a very busy day today. This podcast will come out later this week, I think on the 23rd. But it's a busy Monday today.
Yes, it is.
Just a few things going on.
Yes, a few things going on Monday the 20th. That is true. The inauguration, Happy Martin Luther King Day,
That's
all
right.
of those things.
The national title game, if you're into college sports, is on tonight. There's been all sorts of stuff going on. So yeah, it's busy. Are you doing all right today?
That's always important. Yeah.
Yeah,
doing good.
College football is always important. That's right. Hey, you're in Texas. You should know better, right? College football. And unfortunately, Texas didn't make it. They came up short. But in Texas, college football is always important. You get in trouble if it's anything other than that. So they'll get you. But let's get into our conversation this week, Liz, and talk about this article about these 4 unique risks. And I guess maybe we should set the stage a little bit because it's talking about decumulation, which is, AKA retirement, right? Versus working years, which is accumulation. So can you maybe start there, like accumulation versus decumulation, just for folks?
Absolutely. So when you are working, obviously, you're accumulating, you're saving, you're building your wealth, you're putting money into different accounts, not really thinking maybe a whole lot about it. And then when you get ready to retire, suddenly you don't have that paycheck coming in. You want to spend some of that money. You're no longer adding to that wealth. And that is not as easy done as said. People find that a hard thing to do. And that's one of the points that this author points out in the article that we're going to talk about. And obviously we'll put a link to that so people can read it.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But, there are significant differences that people don't really think about until they're at retirement. And it's important to talk through some of those to know what are those unique risks and what can you do about them.
Yeah, and you're thinking about risks in general, right? I mean, it's always going to be something out there. And I get this is where you want to kind of dial that in with your advisor because we do have to have some risks just simply because we've got to be able to outpace inflation and so on and so forth. And so I guess if there's 3 main observations first to start with, it would be the accumulation versus decumulation, which you just kind of broke down for us. Considering your time horizon would be another piece of this, right?
Yeah, and he points out that this is significant because you can choose your retirement date. You know when that's going to be.
Right.
So you can aim for it. It's an exact time period. You don't know when you're going to pass away. So you're just guessing at how long your money needs to last. It could be shorter, it could be longer than you're aiming for. And that's what makes it so hard. In fact, William F. Sharpe is a Nobel Prize winner, and he is known for the Sharpe ratio and did a lot of work on so many things in finances over the years. And when he got to retirement, he said, this is the nastiest, hardest problem in finance.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because he had no end date. Like, what's my end date? Like, how many years do I need to plan for? That makes it so hard.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If we all came with like a milk stamp, best used by, maybe we do have a best used by, I don't know. But if we all came with one of those, it would be a little bit easier for you guys to plan. You could retroactively build the greatest plan ever if we knew exactly when we were going to pass away. But
Yep.
A, we
Yep.
don't know that. And B, I don't know that anybody would really want to know that, honestly. So,
Sure.
so risks are also not unique, right? So that's the third kind of main, overarching observation. Then we'll get into the four unique risks themselves here in just a second. But just kind of keep in mind that although I guess, risk is risk, right? I mean, it's not like it's not that unique. We're all going to be subject to it, correct?
Yes, and he points out that there are risks that impact you all of your years
Sure.
when it
Yeah.
comes to planning for retirement. Accumulation and decumulation phase. You're going to have inflation risk. You're going to have investment risk. You're going to have liquidity risk. But then when you hit retirement, there are some risks that didn't impact you when you were saving. And those are the four unique risks that we want to talk about today.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, let's get into them. So the first one, sequence of returns risk. Many people may have heard this, and you've probably seen a lot of analogies out there where basically, Liz, this is about if you're retiring in a down market, right? This is usually where the analogy comes up, people showing you how it affects someone if you're retiring in a down, economic period versus an up one, right?
Yeah, that makes a big difference. The research shows that can drastically impact how long your money lasts or what you can draw from your money. So that sequence of return risk is basically when are you going to get those good returns and those bad returns? When you're saving money, you just want a good average return. And it doesn't matter if you get a good return year one and a bad one in year two versus flip-flopping that because you're just adding to the pile. But when you're pulling money out, then it does matter because you're needing to sell investments to pull money out. You're needing to draw down. And so it does matter that timing. When do you get the good returns versus when you get the bad returns? In the article, he suggests that you could use a home equity mortgage or something like that, a home equity conversion mortgage, the reverse mortgage, to offset that. That's not an idea that I think is a main planning strategy at the beginning of retirement. But my recommendation personally would be the bucket planning that we've talked about.
Okay. Yeah. And I know that reverse mortgages and things like that have certainly changed through the years, and I know they're not nearly as bad as they used to be, but yeah, certainly interesting recommendations on some of that. So if sequence of return risk is the first one, then longevity risk is the second one. And it's interesting that he calls this a unique risk, and I guess it could be because, again, some people are going to live longer than others, right?
Yeah, that is right. And people can underestimate their longevity.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Don't really understand how long they might live. And one of the issues that we have as people are reaching retirement is not understanding how longevity increases the longer you live. And I looked up some numbers on the Social Security website. Let me just open this up. So
Sure, yeah.
when a male is 65, he has about a 17-year life expectancy on the Social Security website. So that would take him to 82. But when he reaches 82, if he's still alive, he's got another 7 years life expectancy. So that takes him to 89. And when he reaches 89, he's still got another 4 years life expectancy that takes him to 93. And when he reaches 93, he's got another 3 years life expectancy that takes him to 96. And the same is true for women. It goes from 65 to 85. When she reaches 85, her life expectancy is now 92. When she reaches 92, it's now 96. When she reaches 96, it's now 99, because the longer you live, you're one of the people that have lived to that point. So now you're part of that new average. What's the average life expectancy from that point forward? And people don't think about that and build that into their plan. A lot of times they'll just think, well, my mom and dad or my grandparents only lived until X, and, my life expectancy at 65 is in the mid 80s. And so they may under plan. for the longevity.
Yeah, and it is kind of weird, and some interesting statistics in there for sure. Where you get to a certain age, your probability of making it to this next milestone goes up quite a bit, and so even and again, you've got to take family history into that, but it's not the be all end all either. So, how you're living versus how they lived, medical advances, all that kind of stuff. So it's easy to kind of want to drill. I'm one of those people where I drill down as well and say, well, based on this, and this, I'm probably not going to see much past, my early 70s because none of the men in my family have. But it'd be really ill-advised to not plan to live longer than that in case you're wrong, right? So don't.
Yeah, and we have to remember the advances in medicine,
Sure,
the advances in lifestyle. There's so many things that have happened that are causing us to live longer, just in general.
Yeah,
we're healthier than we used to be. We try to live healthier than we used to live. So all of those are good things to think about. And when it comes to dealing with this, it comes back to the bucket planning. That bucket planning lets you align the short-term assets, like we were talking about a minute ago, for that volatility in the early years. So if you have those short-term assets, it's going to help you have the money that you need and not need to dip into the assets that might be more volatile. So you're not having to sell at a low. You've got
gotcha.
that runway of income for 5 or 10 years. And then the long term can be there to have that growth you need for longevity, to keep up with inflation, to have the money down the road when you have actually lived to be 85 or 90, to have the money there to support the income at that point in time. And that's where, bucket planning, in my opinion, really helps a retiree set that plan in place to support them throughout their retirement. And then you can add to that some guardrails so that you can, if we have a really great year or a really bad year, we can adjust that spending up and down a little bit to let the portfolio catch up. And that's what those guardrails will do for you.
No, that's a great point. And think about longevity this way, too. The longevity risk, it is the great multiplier to all the other risks that we have to deal with. Because the longer we're around, the more we might be exposed to, some of the things that aren't on here, like market risk and, so on and so forth. But his next one on here is tax risk. And the longer you're around, the longer you have the chance to be exposed to a new administration that will, maybe change the tax code, right? So every 4 years we get a new administration, maybe every 4 or 8 or who knows how many years, but we might get new taxes in place. And that brings tax risk.
It does. And he calls it tax expense risk. When you dig into what he's saying there, he talks about the fact that the amount of tax that you pay will directly impact your lifestyle and how long the portfolio lasts. So he points that out. And you want to make sure that you're minimizing that tax so that you can extend how long that portfolio is going to last. People that come into my office before I do a projection don't even have a sense of how much that could really be in retirement. And if you don't put a tax plan in place, it can be more than $500,000, more than $1 million. Depends on how much you have in tax deferred, the different types of assets. It's estimated that the average couple will pay at least $250,000 in tax during retirement. So reducing that becomes so very important. One of the things that he said that I really liked the way that he worded it was Roth conversions are consider those your upfront cost as an insurance premium against the future volatility of tax expense. And I had not, really thought about it in exactly those terms.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly am thinking of Roth conversions as eliminating some of that future tax risk. But he said, just think about it like you're paying this premium that is to protect you against future volatility of tax expense.
Yeah, and we all know what the national debt is, and so at some point we have to assume taxes are going to go up. Now, with the new administration coming in, as we talked about to kick things off today with this podcast, we'll find out here pretty quickly, Liz, if the TCJA gets extended and maybe keeps the taxes where they're at currently. That's probably what's going to happen, but who knows? And again, talking about future, you're talking about, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years in retirement, obviously things can change. So that's got to be on that radar as well.
I absolutely agree. And so my recommendation is that everybody's got to have a tax plan when they go into retirement.
Yeah,
Needs to look at what tax strategies could work for your specific situation because everybody has different assets. They have different types of accounts. They're going to be
yeah,
in those gap years for a different period of time, different spending needs or income sources. Some people like to give to charity, some people don't.
true.
So you've got to put all of that together into a tax plan specific to you and then make it an annual priority so that you don't waste any opportunities. If we get the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act extended for these 4 years, which I certainly anticipate we will,
Most
just
likely,
like
yeah.
you, that gives us 4 more years with lower brackets. We don't want to waste that. We want to
Yeah.
take every opportunity we can to set ourselves up, set our families up down the road as good as possible.
Well, that's a great point, right? So we want to be as tax efficient as we can for ourselves while we're here, and while we're, because it can, your retirement accounts, your retirement portfolio and success can really make or break on your tax strategy sometimes, right? It's not how much you make, it's what you keep, right? And also be efficient for your heirs. Whatever your strategy is for legacy, if you're planning on leaving anything, leave it to them tax efficient if possible, right? So why wouldn't you? So take those, into consideration as well. So, all right, last one, Liz. Then, so of the 4 unique risks, again, sequence of return risk was 1, longevity risk was 2, tax risk was 3, and spiking expense risk was 4. I'm guessing he's just, obviously inflation.
No, what he's actually saying is that there are things that can come along that you just don't maybe anticipate.
Oh, all right.
Or maybe you kind of have an idea that it could happen, but you don't know when. It could be a really big expense. And he gave examples of gray divorce as one,
Sure,
which is there's a lot more of that these days. Long-term care, obviously, could be a big expense. Not everybody's going to have that. A family crisis where you need to help family. That could be a big one and very unexpected. Or a natural disaster, and we're certainly seeing how that can
all across
really
the country,
impact people. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so those are the 4 examples he gave. And because of that, it's so hard to know if they're going to happen, how much it's going to cost, what it's going to be, how do you really plan for it? But you've got to have some plan for the what ifs. You've got to do some thinking about it. That's where working with an advisor can help. And then know what you'll do if this comes up, if this something happens in your own family, in your own situation. What's your backup plan? You can use that guardrail strategy. This is where I see the home equity coming into play. Like I wouldn't use the home equity personally for basic lifestyle. I would have it as something that I could use for this spiking expense for something like this that came up. And when I run long-term care analysis for clients, we first see, like, if you were to both need to be in a nursing home, how much home equity would you have and what would that cover? And then for some of these, you may need to get some insurance over and above the assets that you have, the home equity that you have, all of the other resources. You may need some insurance, and that's an analysis to run through and see if that makes sense for you. But just having looked at the what ifs will at least let you know if something like this happens, I've got a plan for it.
Well, there you go. So there's the 4 unique risks. Again, we'll put a link in the show notes to the article we were talking about here this week with Liz. But at the end of the day, we're all going to face multiple kinds of risks out there in our retirement or even on our way to retirement. So make sure that you are retiring on your best path by having a strategy for your situation. And of course, that's what Liz does day in and day out. So if you need some help, find her online at bestpathadvisors.com. That's bestpathadvisors.com. Lots of good tools, tips, and resources there for you to check out. And you can go to, you can just click on the Let's Talk in order to have set up some time to chat with her and get on the calendar. You can go to the Good Stuff tab if you'd like. There's webinars, videos, blog. You can check her out on YouTube, subscribe to her YouTube channel. Don't forget, of course, subscribe to the podcast on Apple or Spotify in audio form. And then again, check out her videos on YouTube. There's some free guides, checklists, lots of good stuff again at bestpathadvisors.com. That is bestpathadvisors.com. Liz, thanks for hanging out as always and breaking it down. I appreciate you so much. I hope you have a great week, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, thank you so much, Mark.
We appreciate you folks tuning in to Retire on Your Best Path with founder and financial advisor of Best Path Advisors, Liz Witherberry.
The preceding program is sponsored by Best Path Advisors, which is solely responsible for its content. Securities offered through J.W. Cole Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through J.W. Cole Advisors. Best Path Advisors, J.W. Cole Financial, and J.W. Cole Advisors are unaffiliated entities. The opinions expressed by Liz Whitberry should not be construed as specific tax, legal, or investment advice, nor as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Neither J.W. Cole Financial nor its representatives provide legal, tax, or accounting advice. Persons who provide such advice do so in a capacity other than as a registered representative of J.W. Cole. Investing is subject to risks, including the loss of principal. Due to volatility within the markets mentioned, opinions are subject to change without notice. Information is based on sources believed to be reliable, however, their accuracy or completeness cannot be guaranteed.